All right, hello. I wanted to give all of you a quick update, and I have notes, so I'm going to be looking at this a lot because I made notes and I'm going to mostly read them, but I wanted to give everyone an update of sort of my plans for the rest of the year and the sort of videos that are going to come up and that I'm going to be working on, because I do want some feedback from you a little bit just on what I'm going to be talking about, because if you've watched my channel for a while and kind of seen like what videos I put up when, I put videos up about what I'm doing, right? Like some of my videos are like my world building guides are a little different than that, but I like to make world building videos when I'm world building. I like to make character videos when I'm characters. I like to make writing vlogs when I'm writing, right? Like it's something that helps motivate me and helps me make little milestone chunks out of what I'm working on, and then I get to share it with you, and that is what works for me and putting videos up. So we have some things changing because I am going to be finishing the first draft of the project I'm working on right now, that I'm drafting anyway, and I will be finishing that first draft this weekend. I will do it. I will do it. If you've been watching the vlog series on that, yeah. But after that, I'm going to basically sit it aside for a while. I might do like one quick pass over a couple of days just to like tweak a couple things, but I'm going to set it aside for a couple months, and I'm going to work on outlining my next project. And so this is one of my favorite points in my cycle because I have the downtime to really sit and think about stuff and learn stuff and research, and I love that part of the process. So I'm going to be reading a lot of craft books, doing a lot of world building research, figuring out a lot of these processes. Like it's going to be very unstructured, I guess. Like there's just going to be lots of little things to do, and I'm very, very excited for it. So we're going to start with world building guide videos. I have 3 videos in the pipeline right now. I have my weather video, which is, I think I've done basically everything for that other than actually sit down and film it, edit it, post it. I hope that will be up probably not next week, but the week after. It'll probably be my next video that comes up, so that'll be coming out soon, and that's like sort of a side tangent one on weather. And then I have rivers and river biomes, or rivers and wetland biomes very, very close. I've done the research and the process prep, so I just need to actually draw the maps, create the presentation so that I can show it in the video, and then, edit, film, post, whatever, all of that. So that will probably be close. And then I have to do biomes, which I think I have most of the research done, but it's not quite as far along and everything else because I wanted to get the prequel stuff done first to kind of wrap it in. So I'm hoping to get all of those up this year, or at least close to. Like it might go into January, but I'm hoping I'll get all of those out maybe in December, honestly. Like we'll see, but I hope to at least finish them soon. So then I'm going to need to be moving into kind of my next section of world building guide videos. And those are mostly going to line up with what I am working on for world building my new project. And there are like a couple directions I could go in, which I'll get to in a second. But something else I might do is kind of go back through the blog posts that I have for the world building guide videos and kind of just plus them up a little bit, like include some of the new maps I've made in it, go through and like tweak some things that I think could have more detail and expand on them some more, because there's definitely some stuff that's kind of vague that I think now that I've done enough maps, I can probably add more detail and specifics and like spend a little bit of time doing a bit more research and pattern matching and just figure all that out. I might do that. We'll see. I do want to do that soon though. But then I have 3-ish directions I could go in. Regional maps and a little bit local maps. What's the other one? Like cultural world building, and then martial world building. And I have some notes on what I've been thinking on for these, but like regional world building would essentially just be smaller scale maps. It won't be as detailed as the global ones in terms of like how many steps I do in a video, right? Because I've already covered all of it. So I will mostly be like, okay, we've already covered all this stuff. How do we take this and now expand out some of these regional maps as I do my regional maps for my next project? And I'll also be doing, like, I might talk about, planning cities or planning buildings, planning, architectural styles and like all of that stuff sort of as I do the research for applying it in my next book. So that's one thread that I could focus on. The cultural side is essentially like world building societies and cultures, building from geography and, topology and all of that kind of stuff. There's some very interesting schools of thought on, what do they call it? Like geographic determinism, I think is what it's called, something like that. But that, cultural dimensions, really looking into that. And while I don't believe in the geographical determinism for culture, I think that it points out a lot of really interesting patterns and like places where you can make really cool world building decisions, right? So I've done a lot of research on that recently, but I haven't put it in a format where I could make a video, but that might be something I lean into more if I'm leaning into that more with my, next project. So if that sounds interesting to you, like taking a map and being like, okay, from this map, like what kind of cultures am I going to see? Like where are the major cultural groups going to be on this map? Like which cultures are going to be the most similar? Where are we going to see different types of like historical strife and stuff like that? And like what kind of problems are these people going to have to solve as a culture in the area that they live in? And what are some of the patterns that you see in our world history that, you can sort of use to pull from? So I want to know if you're interested in that too. And then the third path is the most separated from what I'm doing because that's martial world building, which relates to my sword fighting stuff and all the historical research and manuals I've been reading. And it's sort of like to the side because I'm not going to do much of this for my next project. I don't have much of a, there's not going to be like fights and battles. I will have a like martial artist character. There'll be a side character, but that's mostly going to be for like, when you are watching like historical like Korean dramas or like, I feel like all of like C-dramas, K-dramas, whatever, the historical ones where you have the like super good martial artists that are basically like fantasy magic level martial artists where they just do like absolutely crazy stuff that really doesn't work with physics, but it's really cool. I'm going to be doing that. So it won't be as relevant, but I'm still like, it kind of ties into the sword fighting I'm learning and the manuals I'm researching because like I've been reading a lot of historic manuals and there's a lot of really cool things I'm learning that like you can find a ton of information out there, but it's not for writers or world builders. It's for people that are trying to study it, right? So trying to change that from the perspective of like, okay, like there's all these cool things, but how do you create these things? How do you make these decisions? Like what are the decision trees essentially of like, okay, if it's like this and this type of culture and this sort of time frame and you have this sort of a background, like what kind of weapons are you going to see? What type of, like just trailing all of that out through weapons, armor, martial groups, like battle styles, like all this kind of stuff. At some point I want to do a series on. That is also something that I could spend some of this time working on. Obviously I can't do all of these things, so I really want to know from your perspective what would be the most interesting to kind of see, because I really like it when I get a lot of engagement on those videos and get a lot of ideas and feedback and thoughts. Like it makes the process a lot more fun to me. So think about that. That's the world building side. So then moving around to specifically my working on a new project, because that is what I'm going to be doing, right? I have already started that new project playlist, and I have a couple videos in there, like choosing which project I'm going to work on, doing that first high-level brainstorm for it. I already have those videos. So I have like a list of ideas for videos that I think I might want to do, or at least parts of the process that I'm going to be going through that I may want to share. But again, I want to share my process, but my process is very particular for the way I think and the way I learn, and I've talked about this, but my goal with this next project is to be incredibly intentional with this world building outlining steps and really come up with something that's incredibly detailed, incredibly thorough, so that when I get to writing, like I have all these things figured out and I can really write something that's incredibly detailed, incredibly like, I want everything to be very deep, right? So I really need to spend a lot of time thinking about it and mapping it out and doing my cast design and my outline and like really getting all of these threads pulled together in a very succinct, intentional way. And I also have like a bunch of other world building things I have to do. So I wrote a list of the stuff I could think of that I'm going to be doing in the process that I could do in a video. So I'm going to read this. First thing, obviously creating the physical world. I don't know what you'd want to see with that, like maybe just like, you know, a little bit of B-roll footage and then being like, this is kind of what I did, here's my world. And then like what kind of physical setting I want my society to be in. So picking where on that map is my society going to be, what's the climate, what's the biome, what's the geography that fits the society I want to build. And then creating the individual maps and world building, all the areas my story will be set in. Creating a naming language program and developing naming languages and spell languages for my societies, building out a magic system, so like I have to make a magical realm or alternate plane, spells, potions, etc. I have to build out my society, so wardrobes, government, hierarchies, magical academy. There's going to be a lot of interesting societal themes and conflicts that I need to work out. Really expand on the history and the like lost secret society, like how the world used to be. I need to expand on that a lot. Develop my characters. I want to go very detailed into this. I want to draw character concepts. I want to really put together good cast design, come up with like dialogue plans and styles. I want to build up an architectural style for this world and a few key like buildings that will be major settings. Like I really want to world build them out. I want to have maps. I want to do some like inspo sketches, like I really want to be able to have something very tactile that I can describe because I want this to feel very atmospheric, very immersive. So I want to kind of figure out all of that kind of stuff beforehand. Actually do the outline very thoroughly, make my query synopsis logline. That's all the stuff I've thought of so far. And so if there's anything in particular that you'd like, I'd love to see how you do this, or I'd love to see this part of your process more, or, you know, I wouldn't really watch videos on this. Like, I would be curious in knowing that just so I know what to share, you know, because as much as I make these videos for myself to help with my process, like, it also helps me to kind of understand what would be helpful for you, and sometimes that actually helps me. But yes, so that's kind of what I'm thinking. I don't know how far I'll get this year, but we'll see. Like all of the, like this is what I'm going to be working on for the next couple of months. So for the next 2-3 months, you're going to be getting a lot of these videos. One other thing I'm going to be putting out is in December, at the very end of December, I'm going to be part of a YouTube collab, which we'll talk about more at some point, but I'll have to put that video together, which I'm very excited about. Yes. So, if you have thoughts, suggestions, anything, I would absolutely love to hear it. Otherwise, I hope you have a great Thanksgiving or holiday season, you know, and I'll see you in the next one.